What's going up, everybody? Welcome to the very first edition of Tips on the Beat with D.Royul, where every week I'm going to be making a beat, and I'm going to give you insight into how I made it in 5 different ways, hopefully to spark some creativity in those aspiring music makers out there. Now, this series is for anyone who makes music, whether you're a battle-tested beat producer or you're fresh to this, got a brand new laptop, you just installed Logic or Ableton, and you don't necessarily know what you're doing just yet. Now, some of you may ask, how does you, watching me make a beat, inspire you to go and create music? Well, some of my most creative ideas have come from seeing someone else do what they love doing in making music. Sometimes you have to get out of your own circle or your own enclosed area of creation to see someone else's point of view. And you know what? None of what I created after that sounded like anything that they did. Sometimes all it takes is a little outside interaction to open up your mind to brand new ways of thinking. Today's beat was inspired by me going through my sound library. Now, if anybody's out there ever done anything with music, you know what it's like to go through your sounds trying to find the right one. And I have thousands and thousands of sounds. And I was actually looking for something for a whole nother song. And I came across this sound, and it made me stop and go, I think I can do something with this. So I opened a new session, dropped that one in there, started messing around with it. Let's take a listen to how it came together. Alright, so here's your first tip. Alternate rhythms for diversity in the track. Now what I mean is, if you just saw what I did, I played the bass line and the main synth line. Now as you see right here, this bottom line is the bass and this top one is that lower synth. And just in little points, I add extra beats or notes with that same melody line to create just a little bit of diversity, even though it's almost the exact same melody. Adding 2 or 3 notes in there creates a diversity in the track so that it's not just the same melodic rhythm played by both the instruments. Next tip, dynamics give life. Now, the easiest way to explain dynamics are having different volume levels for different instruments or different parts of the song. That means everything isn't at velocity 100, everything is not just hard-hitting slam sounds in your face, unless that's the type of track you're doing. But in a song like this, we've got drums that are hitting at a moderate level, we've got a bass line that's riding more prominently in the track, and we just added bells into it that were softer, just a little sprinkle on top, kind of like sugar, and those create different varying levels of dynamics to be able to make the song feel like it's whole and complete. Our next tip is layering is always an option. Now you know what layers are. You know, onions have layers. Donkey said that. But when you're doing a song like this, you may get a sound where it doesn't exactly do what you want it to do. It doesn't hit all the frequency ranges that you want. So you pile two sounds doing the exact same thing on top of each other. You might EQ some of the frequencies out of one so that they don't start clashing into each other. But them together at the right volume level creates its own unique instrument. And that's what I just did, because I wanted some of the bottom level of that arpeggio synth, the one that was just moving on its own, and I wanted it to have a little more bottom in it, so I found another sound that complemented the higher sound that was in the chorus that I just did right there. Next tip, breaks are your friend. Breaks are your friend. What that means is, if you just saw, that was essentially the chorus of the song, the hook. Everything was bigger, it wasn't super loud, but every bit of the instruments were all there together, and you could feel that everything had risen up to that point. Now you break it back down to where it was at the beginning of the song to give the listener rest. You know, you take away some of the instruments, or you reintroduce that first thing you did in the song to show the beginning of the verse, and to make the listener be able to get some type of break from all the stuff that was just put at them and brought them to that level, so that you're creating this nice area for them to be able to rest their ears in. Next tip is mess around with effects. Just because the sound that you've loaded, I guess, is close enough, try to make it work. What I did with one of the sounds that I just put in is I was messing around with the reverbs. They didn't have any reverb that actually came with it. So, you know, this is the sound right here that I just played. And if you notice, this is what it sounds like by itself, the retro synth. What I did was I gave it two reverbs, one that was a spatial reverb and the other one that was like a large plate hall, because I wanted it to have a little more body in it. So by messing around with the effects, I created that space that gave it what I wanted. And there you have it. Our very first beat is done together. Now let's recap those 5 tips that I talked about. 1, alternate rhythms in your song to create diversity. 2, breaks are your friend, breaking it down from large to small. 3, mess around with effects. Don't just use what they give you just because it's there. 4, layering is always an option if you don't like what you're hearing. And 5, diversity gives life. Let there be ebbs and flows, highs and lows in your track, so that the listener can be drawn in by what they're hearing. And that concludes the very first episode of Tips on the Beat with D.Royul. Thank you everybody for watching. Now remember everybody, creativity has no boundaries. Use your God-given gifts and talents to make something fresh today, but most of all, make sure you're having fun while you're doing it. See you next time.